Archangel Michael says. There are moments in life when your name is spoken in places you've never been. And yet, what is said there has the power to change everything about your future. Today, Archangel Michael leans in close to reveal something that happened, quietly, secretly, while you went about your day, unaware that eyes, voices, and intentions were locked on you. A room. Not just any room, this one was dimly lit, with walls that have heard confessions, arguments, and power plays before. There was a long wooden table, the kind that carries the weight of decisions made behind closed doors. No windows were open, no phones allowed, no casual chatter. Every seat was filled. And then it happened. Someone, yes, someone you know, rose from their chair. The air shifted, just slightly. Every gaze turned toward them. Their lips parted, and your name was the first thing that passed into the air. Not once. Not twice. But again, and again. For the next 15 minutes, the entire room was devoted to you. Michael shows me the scene from above, your name moving like an invisible thread, weaving itself between the minds of those seated. Some leaned forward, nodding, considering. Others crossed their arms, skeptical. One or two even smirked in ways that spoke of quiet judgment. But they all listened. Every single word. This wasn't a casual mention. This wasn't, oh, by the way. No, this was intentional. Planned. Weighted. The person speaking had an agenda. And the people listening? They held influence, the kind that can open, or slam shut, the doors you've been waiting to walk through. In the natural, you weren't there to hear it. But in the spiritual, heaven heard every syllable. Type Amen 4840 to get blessings. Some of what was spoken about you was drenched in admiration, your strengths, your resilience, your recent progress. Those words were like candles being lit, one after the other, in your favor. But not every flame was meant to guide you. Some were meant to burn you. Archangel Michael says. There were shadows moving in that conversation, subtle tones, crafted phrases, clever half-truths meant to plant doubt in the minds of certain listeners. Seeds of limitation disguised as concern. Phrases that sound harmless, but in the spirit realm, they carry weight. Michael's voice is firm as he speaks. This is not to frighten you. This is to awaken you. You must know when you are the subject of quiet influence, for influence can shape decisions before you ever have the chance to speak for yourself. Why did they choose now to talk about you? Why with this group of people? Because something in your atmosphere is shifting. An unseen transition is underway. People can sense it, even if they can't explain it, and for some, it stirs excitement. For others, insecurity. But here's the good news, heaven didn't just let them talk. Heaven was there, too. And the moment certain words were spoken against you, an angelic countermeasure began. In other words, the meeting was secret. But it wasn't unseen. Michael speaks again, his tone calm but unshakably firm. Do you think I am bound by walls? Do you believe that doors can keep heaven out? No, there is no meeting too private, no counsel too hidden, no whisper too faint that I cannot hear. The room you were not invited to was never beyond heaven's reach. Every flicker of an eyelash, every shuffle of a paper, every subtle exchange of glances, it was all recorded in the spiritual realm. Archangel Michael describes it as if I am standing right there beside him. A heavy stillness filled the air. The person speaking about you held the floor like a conductor leading an orchestra. They controlled the tempo, slowing when they wanted to stir curiosity, quickening when they wanted to push urgency. One listener scribbled furiously in a notebook. Another rested their chin on their hand, eyes narrowed, lips pressed tight. One leaned back with a smirk, as if they had already made up their mind about you. Michael leans in closer, his voice almost a whisper. Michael says this is how spiritual law works. What is spoken in darkness can be intercepted by light, if you remain aligned with truth and not fear. But you must be aware, this meeting was not a random coincidence. It was allowed so that motives could be exposed. So that the players could step onto the stage, revealing where they truly stand. I can see it clearly now. Someone in that room sat silently through the entire 15 minutes, saying nothing, but inside, they were wrestling. What they heard did not sit right with them. Their spirit resisted the undercurrent of manipulation. And Michael smiles, not a gentle smile, but one of certainty, because this silent observer will soon become more than an observer. They will become a messenger. You will know them when they come, Michael says. And they will tell you what no one else dares to speak. In every room where your name is spoken, there are always two camps, those who speak for your rise, and those who whisper for your fall. Archangel Michael makes it clear, it is never only admiration or only malice, both currents often run together, and it is the discerning heart that must learn to separate them. Archangel Michael says. In that secret room, the divide was almost invisible to the untrained eye. Everyone's faces were polite. Their tones measured. No raised voices, no obvious confrontation. But the spirit realm told a different story. There was admiration. There was envy. And there was strategy. Not all who hear your name have the same intention in their heart. Some were drawn to your light. They saw potential. They saw someone who could contribute, who could bring value. But others? They felt the sharp edge of comparison cutting into their pride. Your name, to them, was not a beacon, it was a warning that their position could be challenged. This is the part heaven wants you to understand, the discussion wasn't just about your past or present. It was about your next. They weren't only analyzing what you've done, they were deciding what you will be allowed to do. And yet, as the conversation unfolded, a second layer of reality was in motion. While they spoke, angels moved. Every word released into the air became a spiritual object, words of blessing turned into seeds of favor, carried to you. Words of harm were intercepted, examined, and in some cases, dismantled before they could take root. Type Amen 4900 to get blessings. Let's begin with the first group. They spoke with conviction about your value, your consistency in difficult times, your ability to bring fresh ideas, your resilience when others would have quit. They called attention to things you have done quietly, without demanding recognition. For them, your name brought a sense of hope. They saw someone worth supporting, worth aligning with. These were not necessarily close friends or longtime allies, some of them barely know you personally. But they recognized something in you that could serve a greater purpose. Their words were like gentle drops of oil, softening the minds of others to see you in a more favorable light. But the second group, their admiration was thin, if it existed at all. They chose their words carefully, layering subtle doubt beneath what seemed like reasoned concern. Oh, yes, they've done well, but can they really handle what's ahead? They're capable, of course, but I'm not sure if now is the right time. At first glance, these phrases sound harmless. Reasonable, even. But Michael shows me how, in the spiritual realm, such phrases act like small weights, enough to slow momentum, enough to cause hesitation in those making decisions about you. The dangerous part. The second group did not openly oppose you, they cloaked their resistance in measured tones and selective facts. That's why the enemy often prefers subtlety over confrontation. It's harder to detect and easier to spread. Type Amen 994 to get blessings. And yet, in this moment, Michael leans forward and says something startling. Even the voices against you are serving you now. For I am turning their restraint into your refinement. Their doubt will become your proving ground, and when the moment comes, their own words will testify against their intent. I see it clearly. One person in the first group is about to gain influence in the decisions being made. They will use it to tilt the balance in your favor. Meanwhile, someone in the second group will overplay their hand, revealing a hint of their hidden agenda, and that slip will change everything. Michael's counsel is firm: do not waste time trying to win over every voice. Your assignment is not to convince the resistant, but to align with the willing. And this is only the beginning. Because what happened in that room was not just about discussion, it was also about timing. And the moment they chose to meet about you was no accident. There are no coincidences in the timing of spiritual events. Archangel Michael speaks with a certainty that settles deep into the soul. You must understand, what took place in that room was not an isolated moment. It was positioned at a crossroads in your life, a place where your steps forward carry greater weight than they ever have before. The truth is, this meeting could have happened months ago, or not at all. So why now? Because heaven knows, and so does the opposition, that you are on the brink of a transition. Your life is not where it was a year ago. Certain battles have been won, certain doors have creaked open, and the momentum you've built is undeniable. Even those who do not walk with God can feel the change in your atmosphere. Archangel Michael says. Michael paints the picture for me. It's like a ship approaching a harbor. For months, it's been out at sea, navigating storms, enduring long nights, and moving steadily toward its destination. But now the shoreline is visible. And when the shoreline is in sight, both allies and adversaries begin to gather, some to welcome, others to intercept. That is what has happened with you. This room of people didn't just meet to reminisce or speculate, they met because something in them recognized that you are close to a defining moment. Some in the room felt urgency: we must bring them in before someone else does. Others felt threat: we need to limit their influence before it grows beyond our control. In the spirit realm, timing is everything. That's why the enemy often works hardest when you are closest to breakthrough, because the enemy knows that a small delay at the right moment can prevent a massive forward leap. But here's where heaven's strategy turns the tables. The very fact that they gathered now is evidence that your breakthrough is nearer than you think. If nothing in your life were shifting, they would have had no reason to meet. Type Amen 3994 to get blessings. Michael says this clearly: the timing of their meeting is not a reason for fear, it is a confirmation of the acceleration in your destiny. If they can sense it, so can you. Even more, there's something hidden in their choice of day and place. Michael reveals that the date of the meeting holds spiritual significance. It aligns with a recent moment when you made a private decision to step into a higher level of obedience or discipline. You may not have realized it then, but that choice sent a ripple through the spiritual atmosphere. That ripple reached them. And so, they met. And in meeting, they revealed themselves. And in revealing themselves, they gave heaven the leverage to act on your behalf. Because when motives are exposed, heaven can move with precision. In every gathering where plans are made, there is a turning point, a single statement, a decision, or a phrase that shifts the entire trajectory of the conversation. Archangel Michael reveals that in the 15 minutes they spoke about you, such a moment occurred. It wasn't the loudest sentence. It wasn't delivered with a dramatic flourish. In fact, it was spoken almost casually, slipped in between other remarks, as though it were nothing more than a passing suggestion. But in the spirit realm, this was the dangerous clause. Michael shows it to me like a written contract, where all the words are typed in black ink, except one line, glowing faintly, as if it's alive. That glowing line is the sentence that matters most, the one that will be remembered long after the meeting is over. What was it? It was a proposal. A decision to place a condition on you. Not an outright refusal. Not an obvious attack. But a condition designed to make the path ahead for you more complicated, more delayed, or more expensive, hoping you might become discouraged and stop. In practical terms, this could take many shapes. Requiring you to prove yourself again, even after you've already done so. Adding extra steps before you can access something that should be rightfully yours. Quietly shifting resources or opportunities away from you without open explanation. Type Amen 0948 to get blessings. The clause wasn't accidental, it was calculated. Because the person who suggested it understands that the most effective resistance is not always a wall, sometimes it's a maze. Michael leans forward, his sword gleaming in the vision. Do not fear the clause. For I tell you, what they design as a delay will become your divine preparation. Every obstacle they place will expose their own motives and refine your strength. Here's the other side of it. What they didn't realize is that their clause created a spiritual clause in heaven's courtroom. Every time opposition rises against a child of God without just cause, heaven records it as an open case. And when heaven judges in your favor, and Michael says it will, the compensation is greater than what was originally delayed. Even more, this clause has a weakness. The one who proposed it did so to please a certain listener in the room, but their own conscience will not let them rest. This inner conflict will eventually cause them to let something slip. And when it slips, you will have the information you need to dismantle the restriction entirely. Michael's voice deepens. They think they are the ones drafting your story. They are not. Your scroll is in the hands of the one who wrote it before time began. The moment you learn that someone has been speaking about you behind closed doors, a natural response is fear, anger, or urgency. But Michael's guidance is precise. You must act with awareness, not reaction. You must move with discernment, not impulse. The wrong word or step can give your adversaries the advantage they seek. He explains that your safety, spiritual, emotional, and even practical, depends on staying alert without panic. Every action, every conversation, every decision in the coming days will carry weight. What may seem small to you, an offhand comment, a glance, a brief encounter, can be the very thread that heaven uses to protect you or to expose the schemes of others. Michael shows me the signs that are already moving in your life. You may overhear conversations that feel like they weren't meant for your ears, but they are. You may receive messages that seem mistaken or delayed, but the timing is perfect. You may encounter people who appear randomly in your life, yet their presence is deliberate. All of this is a preparation. A divine alignment orchestrated by heaven itself. Here's the warning: do not confront, do not assume, do not react hastily. Those who plotted against you hope to provoke you into an emotional misstep. They want your anger to cloud your judgment. But Michael reminds you, your calm discernment is your greatest shield. Your silence, your patience, and your prayerful observation will protect you more than any words of defense. Practical guidance is also given. Archangel Michael says, keep records of unusual activity or communications. Pray daily for discernment, not vengeance. Pay attention to people who act differently around you, they may be influenced by what was said in that room. Recognize subtle patterns in your life, repetition often reveals intent. Type Amen 4940 to get blessings. Most importantly, Michael emphasizes that heaven has already begun countering the harm spoken in that room. Words of envy, doubt, and manipulation are being intercepted. Opportunities that were meant to be delayed are being cleared in the spiritual realm. He gives assurance: you are never alone in these moments. Every word spoken against you that carries injustice is like a seed that heaven will uproot and use for your growth. Your path is protected, even when it seems obstructed. Finally, Michael asks you to prepare for the arrival of an unexpected ally, a person in that room or connected to it who will step forward subtly to give you a clue, a warning, or a support you weren't expecting. Their appearance will feel coincidental. Their message may seem small or indirect. But it will be divinely appointed. This is the guidance: remain vigilant, remain patient, remain prayerful, and trust that the invisible forces of heaven are actively turning their schemes into your opportunity. In every room where schemes are hatched, there is often one soul whose conscience cannot bear the weight of deception. Michael points to this person now, the silent observer, the one who listened, felt unease, and refused to participate fully in the plotting. Heaven has placed this ally in your path deliberately. Their role is subtle but powerful. They will not shout warnings or expose the entire plan, they operate in quiet nudges, casual hints, and small acts that carry enormous significance. Michael explains, the person who feels compassion when others plot is the one who carries a fragment of truth. Pay attention to those small, seemingly insignificant gestures, they are divine breadcrumbs meant to guide you. You may encounter this ally in ways that feel coincidental. A casual conversation that unexpectedly sheds light on what was discussed. A question asked out of genuine curiosity that triggers insight in your mind. A minor correction or intervention that saves you from an error you would have otherwise made. Michael reassures, their timing is deliberate. They appear when the moment is right, not when you demand it. The key is awareness and receptivity. Do not dismiss small signs, for these are often the most critical. This ally may also operate behind the scenes, quietly influencing others to act in your favor without drawing attention. Their presence ensures that the intentions of heaven and the unfolding of your destiny remain intact, even when human schemes attempt to interfere. What makes this ally truly remarkable is that they have already begun to act without you realizing it. Some of the protective measures surrounding you, the opportunities appearing at just the right moment, and the small strokes of luck that seem coincidental are being guided by their subtle hand. Type Amen 2384 to get blessings. Michael emphasizes, trust is the bridge you must walk carefully. Not all who appear helpful are allies, and not all silence is passive. But this one, this quiet soul, is a gift of heaven. When their intervention reaches you, it will be unmistakable. The lesson here is clear: even in rooms filled with plotting and manipulation, there is always a source of divine assistance. The ally represents the hand of heaven working to turn words of envy and doubt into opportunities for your growth, blessing, and eventual triumph. This is the turning point. What was meant to harm you is already being transformed into a tool for your advancement. Michael reminds us that the same energy intended to limit you can become the very force that propels you forward, if you are alert enough to recognize it and accept the help offered. Michael's voice resonates with authority and hope. What was meant to intimidate you, to delay you, to limit you, is already being transformed into your elevation. Every word spoken in that room, every hidden motive, and every carefully placed clause has a purpose beyond human comprehension. This is the final move in a spiritual game that heaven has been orchestrating long before the 15-minute speech took place. That secret room, filled with whispers and calculations, was never the end of your story, it was the beginning of your awakening. Michael shows a vision: the words spoken against you, intended as obstacles, now appear as stepping stones. The envy, the doubt, the subtle manipulations, they are like shadows that cannot exist in the light of your destiny. What they tried to use to hold you back becomes proof of your resilience and your alignment with divine purpose. He explains that your response now is critical. Step forward with confidence, not arrogance. Observe the patterns forming around you, but do not become entangled in petty disputes. Recognize the ally heaven has placed in your path and heed their guidance, even if it comes quietly or unexpectedly. Archangel Michael says. The prophecy Michael reveals is clear: this is a season of revelation. Those who intended to oppose you will eventually expose themselves, not through confrontation, but through the natural unfolding of truth. And when they do, you will see the clarity of heaven's justice in action. Heaven has already begun the counter-move. Opportunities will present themselves at just the right moment. Decisions you once thought delayed will arrive with momentum. People who were meant to hinder you will either change course or reveal their true intentions, allowing your path to remain unhindered. Type Amen 4903 to get blessings. Michael emphasizes, the meeting, the speech, the room, all were instruments. You are the instrument of your own destiny, and every external attempt to sway you has only served to fine-tune your alignment with heaven. Walk boldly, for the next steps are yours to claim. This is also a moment of empowerment. The knowledge that others have spoken about you, debated your worth, or tried to influence your path should not fill you with fear, it should awaken determination. Every encounter, every conversation, every coincidence in your life now carries the potential for divine intervention. Finally, Michael leaves this message: do not look back in fear, do not linger in doubt. The seeds of blessing have already been sown in the room where they plotted. Your rise is written, your purpose is set, and your breakthrough is inevitable. No whisper in darkness can overcome the light that heaven has placed upon you. This is the ultimate truth: what they intended for harm, heaven is transforming into your advantage. Your destiny is secure, your path is guided, and your victory is already in motion. Type Amen 78,490 to get blessings.